It was midday, the sun high overhead, when Tinker Bell found Captain Hook on the foredeck of the Jolly Roger. A table to his left revealed a tray with the discarded remains of a well-enjoyed lunch, including the carcass of a rather unlucky fowl, stripped all but bare, and several mugs crusted with the dregs of an empty carafe of mead. "Ah, there you are." Hook sat up straighter when he saw her. He gestured to the messy scraps of his meal. "Smee, why has this not been cleared?" "I was just getting to that, sir." Smee, who had been bumbling in the corner, blushed furiously, jumping to his feet and grabbing the plates. But in his nervousness, he sent several of them crashing to the boat's deck. "Oh dear." Smee scurried toward the hatch leading below decks, slipping briefly, then righting himself. Tink fluttered to the table, hovering delicately within Hook's eye line, while avoiding the less appealing leftovers from lunch. "I have news. About Pan." Hook's reaction was completely involuntarily, his back being ramrod straight. "Do tell." She wondered if he'd sensed it, the hesitance she'd been feeling as her bond with Peter had deepened. Emotions were so messy. In many ways, it was far easier to embrace the fury over Peter's betrayal than it was to live in the liminal space where her loyalty shifted with the winds. "He's been to London, and he's returned with guests." "Using my fairy dust," she added internally, though of course Hook had always been adept at reading her. It was a double-edged sword, or a double-pointed hook, as it were. Hook wrinkled his forehead. "Humans? From beyond Neverland? But why?" Tinker Bell shook her head. "Well, I certainly don't know. I've only met the one, and she's nothing special, I assure you. A girl," Tink added. Tink shook more angrily, showing the captain in a glowing storm of pixie dust that he shooed away easily. "Ah, but you see, she must be very special indeed, in point of fact," Hook countered. Was he goading her? For Peter to have traveled all the way to London for her, and to have brought her back here. He gave the fairy a deep, knowing look. He would have needed some pixie dust, and somehow, I rather suspect you didn't give him any. He grinned, an awful expression that made Tink's whole body feel clammy and unclean. Not willingly, anyway. He was goading her, and of course he had seen straight through her most carefully concealed thoughts. Tinker Bell stomped at the air. She wasn't sure whom she was angrier at, Peter for stealing the dust in the first place, or Hook for sussing out the situation so easily. "She's a lump in a ratty nightgown." "Wonderful!" Hook clapped his one hand carefully against his hook in delight, grinning. "Don't you see? She's special to Peter, and she's a lump. She'll be all the more vulnerable to our attack." Tink nodded, but her stomach clenched. Yes, this was what she hoped Hook would say. There was no turning back, not even if she wanted to. Of course, did she even know what she wanted anymore? She was a fairy, a minuscule creature with outsized power. Everything about her from the inside out was a contradiction that split her open over and over and over again. "She has brothers," she chimed in Hook. "2 of them. I didn't meet them, but they can't be any more useful than she is. In other words, they'll all be easy to defeat, and Pan will be distracted, wanting to protect them," Hook sneered. "It's always one's passion that ends up one's undoing." He leaned toward her. "Remember that, my Tempestus fairy." Tinker Bell gestured at his Hook. "Really, Captain? Is it I who needs to remember?" Hook threw back his head and laughed deep from his belly. "Touché!" He collected himself, rapping his fingers against his chin. "I'm assuming this means you're finally ready?" Perhaps he had also seen through her various procrastinations. Then, insisting on more time to earn Pan's trust, to familiarize herself with his hideout, to whisper in the lost boy's ears. Tinker Bell took a deep breath. The time had come. She nodded, the sound of her movement echoing daintily around the foredeck. I am. You'll show me Peter and the Lost Boys' lair and help me infiltrate it? Yes.